So everyone knows that Raven stole fire from the sun and brought it back to the people, right? Well, Rabbit saw this happen. This was in the long ago, when stories were still new. Raven had just gotten back and brought fire to the people. And everyone was so excited to meet Raven and to be in his presence and to dance with him. You guys feel free to pretend you're dancing with Raven while this goes on. And Rabbit was feeling a little left out. So what does he do? Sneaky thing. Coyote's not the only trickster in the menagerie, you know. He steals not Raven's blanket, but Crow's blanket from around the fire after everyone has gone to sleep. He snatches the blanket, covers himself with it so that everyone thinks that he is Crow or that he is Raven. Because it's kind of hard to tell who's who in the firelight sometimes, you know? So he goes to the next village and he takes off running. And he gets to the next village and he lifts up the blanket and he says, "I am Raven, I have brought you fire." And everyone rejoices and the dancing starts anew. Because he's taken not only Crow's blanket to pretend that he is Raven, he's taken a tiny spark from the fire and he's run with it on his long, powerful legs all the way to the next village and survived with it and gotten there and lit the fire and said, look what I have done. I am Raven." And everyone says, "Oh, Raven, you're so wonderful." And so Rabbit starts to feel a little better. But he thinks, well, I've done this at one village. Why not do it at the next one? So he does it all over again. He grabs a piece of the fire and he runs with it under Crow's blanket and he runs and he runs and he runs and he runs and he gets to the next village and he lights the fire in the center of the town and he says, "I am Raven, I have brought you fire. Look what I have done. Look how wonderful I am." And everyone says, "Oh, Raven, you're so wonderful. Come and dance with us. Come and feast with us. Come and have all the best fruits of our harvest." And it's still Rabbit hiding under that blanket. But he's starting to feel a little better, so he keeps doing this until he's gone around to every village that he can find. And after a while, the villages get farther apart. Not only do the villages get farther apart, but he starts to hear running feet following him in the night, and he's getting a little worried. So he starts to run a little faster between the villages, and he goes through the whole process, and everyone's, "Oh, Raven, you're so wonderful," and then he runs and he runs and he runs and runs, because with his long ears, he can hear the running feet pursuing him, and he thinks it must be Crow, who has told on him to Raven, and they're coming to get that blanket back, and they're coming to shut him down for taking fire to the people and pretending that he is Raven. So he runs and he runs and he runs and he runs and he runs, and finally he's in the deep desert, and it's dark. It's so very dark, it's so very cold, and he knows that they're coming after him. So he pulls the blanket up over his head, and he says, "I'm going to try to pretend to be a rock." But then he remembers, wait, no, this is Raven's blanket. They'll know it's me under here. So he stuffs Raven's blanket into a cave, and he pulls up his own blanket, which was once white and beautiful, but because he's been carrying all that fire around, is now sooty and brown. So he pulls his own blanket around himself and just crouches as small as ever he can and pretends to be a stone. After a while, he hears the running feet catch up with him, but they don't come to where he's crouching, pretending to hide. No. They start a fire of their own, and they sit, and he smells warm meat cooking after a while. And eventually he hears a voice in his ear. And he knows that voice. We all know that voice. It's the voice of the Great Spirit. And the Great Spirit says, "Rabbit, why don't you come out and sit next to me?" So there's nothing for it. He takes his blanket off of his head. He goes over next to the Great Spirit and sits next to the fire, still looking as small as he possibly can. And the Great Spirit says, "Rabbit, do you realize what a wonderful thing you've done? You have carried fire to every single village, and now everyone is warm and safe. Now everyone can cook, everyone has a place to dance, and no one is afraid of the dark anymore. You have done such a wonderful thing, and you didn't even know it." And Rabbit said, "I did?" The Great Spirit said, yes, you did. And because you've pulled that off, I have another job for you." And Rabbit says, "Okay, He says, I want you to look very closely at the moon. Do you see? Look right there, right into the center of the moon. And Rabbit looks into the center of the moon, and before he knows it, the Great Spirit has scooped him up and thrown him up at the moon. That is why there's a rabbit in the moon to this day. Trickster came a-calling to find a totem here, to teach the foolish heart of man well and dog and field. Many came and many went, but still the trickster paused. Bear and cat and tiger tried, but had too many claws. Dog and wolf, the wise indeed, had teeth to were quite a fright, and Owl with his tawny eyes could only see at night. No, the trickster said at last, teachers I see many, but my way is full of laughter, and in you I see not any. But beneath the tree where eagle sat, Coyote told the tale of silly hares cavorting in the old country of Wales. Raven stared unto the sun, and crow sang awful songs, and rabbit sat a-listening with ears so wondrous long. Ah, the trickster danced a dance of joy and victory sweet. He laughed a laugh and swooped a swoop and landed at their feet. For here now, the trickster said, you are the very beasts. But Rabbit said, I'm sorry, sir, but of all we are the least. The trickster smiled and raised a hand and spoke, I have a plan. The four of you shall help me to teach the art of man. Raven, with your love of light, the sun you'll steal and soon. For the gift of warmth I give to man to be the greatest boon. And Crow, you silly creature who sings without a voice, teach man of pride and helping, you really have no choice. Coyote, my friend, together we'll spin many a tale at night, and teach man by our naughtiness what really should be right. At last he turned to Rabbit with a twinkle in his eye. You'll be my favorite creature, and here's the reason why. Your eyes are bright, your feet are swift, your ears hear round the bend, and your very simple humbleness will steal the heart of men. Together we shall thwart the pains the gods do throw to earth, and turn aside their fiery darts with merriment and mirth. And when time comes that men forget the lessons animals render, 'twill be the humble rabbit that mankind will remember. And around the trickster the animals thronged, the birds and all the beasts, and humbly bowed to the king they found, who thought himself the least.